Welcome to the Libido Lounge, where we focus on all things love, lust, and libido. We believe that fabulous sex is important to health as exercise and good food. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode on the lounge. I'm so excited to bring on Susan Bratton, intimacy expert to millions. Susan and I have had the fortune of meeting each other a couple times on summits. I got to spend New Year's with her, and we have the best episode for you guys today. We're going to talk about difficulty orgasming, how we can overcome this, really how we can focus more and more and more on our pleasure, the differences between women and men, and so much more. So welcome, Susan. So happy to have this conversation with you.
Oh, it's so nice to see you again, Dr. Diane. We've been friends for quite a few years now and done quite a few things together. I think I met you first by doing a book blurb for you.
You did. That was the first thing. I was introduced you to write the back commentary on my book. You sent it to your daughter, and then we've been bouncing around each other's heads. So fun.
I love it. Good to see you again. And I'm glad that you want to talk about orgasm because, I would say that if there's anything that I have thought about the most in my life, it's orgasms. I study them. It is my primary interest. And it's interesting because I like to call myself an orgasmonaut. I imagine myself in a silver lame jumpsuit out at the furthest regions of the most exquisite pleasure, learning how to have different kinds of orgasms and hold incredible amounts of sensation in my body and surrendering into it with a level of heart connection to my lovers, with a level of turn on with myself, and with a level of connection to what I call source or Gaia, that connection to all of us as humanity. So my orgasm is something that I consider to be a very alive part of my life, an evolving, maturing, expanding fireball of pleasure and joy that really fuels so much of what I do. And I went now I'm 62. I'll be 63 next month. I'm having the best orgasms of my life, amazing sex. And at 42, I started on the journey of learning how to have orgasms because I could only have one orgasm using my 20 years ago rabbit vibrator. And I almost got divorced because I didn't want to have sex with my husband because I wasn't orgasming from intercourse. And I had intercourse with him for 12 years and never had an orgasm and just was really disillusioned by it all. And it almost ruined my life and my marriage. I've been with him 32 years now. We have sex that keeps getting better. I have 20 different kinds of orgasms. And it's what I love to teach people to do. And there's so many myths and misunderstandings about it that what I love about giving people information about their orgasmic potential is that when I tell them things and they go, oh, I didn't realize that was what it was. It's like an instant change. There are so many things where it's like, I just was working under misinformation. And now that I know what to do, I'm having orgasms. And so that's what's so nice about it. It's very rewarding for me and for the person having all the orgasms.
Like there's so much hope in what you just said, because I know we have people listening that are listening like, oh my gosh, she's in 20 different types of orgasms. Like, I would just like to have one.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and there's so much hope in explaining that. Like, where does somebody that either has never had an orgasm or is like, well, okay, they have this orgasm in like one type of way, like you're describing, and it is just like, it's something, it's not really like that exciting, it's not very motivating. Like, what do you have to say to that, just from a standpoint of like encouraging people that are in that camp?
Yeah. When I talk about the 20 kinds of orgasms, the last thing I want to do is have people be discouraged. What I want you to understand is that there are many, many paths to orgasm, what I like to call orgasmic cross training. And essentially, once you start getting one path to orgasm, you can spin up more paths so that almost everything can make you come after a while. And there's a couple of different things that you need to know to so put aside the discouragement that you've had and let's talk about orgasmic activation because it's very similar. So you have, let's just talk about the three. I'm going to take you through a couple of big picture things. There's three kinds of orgasms. There's locations to touch, your clitoris, your G-spot, your nipples, things like that. There are orgasmic techniques like erotic hypnosis, where you can orgasm from the verbal suggestion of it. That's a pretty interesting one. Or expanded orgasms, which is a practice, a clitoral stroking practice that I've been practicing for decades that has helped me really become orgasmic in a lot of other ways as well. That uses a 5-stroke technique. It's like a yoga form or any kind of thing that you're doing to the operating system of your body to elicit a specific response. In this case, an orgasm that is stretched out where time is like taffy. And when you have the orgasm, it's not just this fleeting little moment. It's this really long, pleasurable orgasmic sensation. That's the kind of the strategies, the technologies, if you will. And then the third is objects of desire. And objects of desire could be anything that turns you on. But one of my favorite categories for orgasmic cross training, learning how to activate all these different parts of your body so that they all kind of come online and become orgasmic, is using sex tools. I don't think they're toys because I'm not playing around, Diane. They are tools of pleasure. And it turns out that for the female body, there are 8 types of tools that you can use to activate the different parts of your body so that you can have different kinds of orgasms. And lots of stuff makes you come as you get better and better at it. So orgasms are a learned skill. There are lots of kinds of them. You can have more and more of them as you activate different areas. One link I want to give you right now is to orgasmiccrosstraining.com because Orgasmic Cross Training has the 8 tools for the female body and the 4 tools for the male body that help you achieve all of these different kinds of orgasms. So what's nice is that you can use the tools in solo pleasuring to wake up that mind-body connection, which is the next piece I want to introduce to this. And then when you're with a partner, it's much easier to have orgasms with or without the tools because you've created the neural pathways. So one of my friends, Dr. Nan Wise, she recently wrote a book called Why Good Sex Matters. And she's a neuroscientist / therapist, sexual therapist. And she's done a great amount of work, clinical research, by putting women in MRIs and stimulating different parts of their body and noticing that it lights up different parts of our brain. So there are a lot of parts of our body that can be orgasmic. And if you're not currently having orgasms from stimulating certain areas, like I can orgasm from clitoral stimulation, but I can't orgasm from penile penetration. I can orgasm from, from intercourse, but I can't orgasm when my G-spot is pleasured. I have never experienced female ejaculation, or it happens to me every time I have sex. People have different paths that they've kind of figured out or honed. but the other ones can just be added right in over time by stimulating the different parts of your genital system and other erogenous zones like coregasms from your belly, footgasms, oralgasms, throatgasms, nipplegasms, and breastgasms. These are all erogenous zones that can be highly orgasmic. So I didn't used to have any kind of orgasm, but the one and done clitoral kind of, poof, and that was it. And the thing is that we've been really under what I would call patriarchal sexuality mores and still using things like the old 1960s Masters and Johnson's concept of orgasm, which is really tied much more to a male ejaculatory orgasm, a one and done, when actually all bodies, including male bodies, penis-owning bodies, are massively multi-orgasmic from lots of stimulation. So when you touch a location in your body and you think to yourself, it feels numb, or it feels painful, or it feels shameful instead of pleasurable, all I want you to know right now is that you can transform, activate, awaken the pleasure by giving it loving touch. That over time, when you approach your orgasm as expanding your sensation and the mind-body connection, and bringing in some of the extra reinforcements that you might need, and we can talk about what those are, the extra reinforcements to kind of activate the orgasm so that once you have it, you can start having them reliably. That's really a good way to think about it, is that the female body is massively multi-orgasmic, and she learns more over time as you begin to play with her.
I love it. And I think I want to go, I want to come back to the extra enforcements because I think that's important. But I also want to bring up this whole thing that I see happen so much time, which is like orgasmic pressure, right? Where it's like there is this discrepancy between the, Rosemary Bassan's arousal, model arousal, and the Masters and Johnson and other models out there. But I think it's led to this cultural thing where there's this destination, and men oftentimes, and partners in general, not just men, we have this desire to provide pleasure to our partners, right? That's just, I think, a human thing. And so with orgasm, there can be like a pressure for one partner to be like, oh, I want to make sure the other partner orgasms because I want to provide that person pleasure. And then on that receiving end, it can be more like, well, I want to make sure I get to orgasm in part because I want to experience it, but also I want that other person to know they did a good job for me. And it's just pressure around orgasm. So how do we get out of that? How do we break down like the orgasmic pressure that comes, I think, bi-directionally in couples?
Yeah, it's called performance anxiety, and it affects everyone. We all worry. But the more that you learn to have orgasms, the more confident you get that they're going to happen. The more that you understand that it's not something that you can affect, but instead that it's something that you allow. I think that's a big difference as well, is that all of your orgasms are in there and they want to come out like a wellspring. A beautiful, cool spring is just bursting from the earth and flowing out. That's how they work. You don't have to go in there and stick a pipe down in the earth and suck orgasms out. You can actually just allow them to come up. And I like to call that birthing your orgasm, which is much less about squeezing down and trying and more about opening and allowing. And so that's a nice little reframe as well. There's another thing that I wanted to say too, which was that I will tell you, if I had a nickel for every person who said to me, don't sex toys make it more difficult for you to orgasm if you don't have one? Don't they desensitize you? I think that goes back to religious, repressed, patriarchal, cultural mores, again, that we're trying to break free of as women. And no, in fact, it's the opposite. And as a matter of fact, the newest toy that it's funny, I had it right here. The newest toy that I'm working with, I work with a company called Fun Factory quite a bit. I'm a one of their, fairly important influencers. And they just launched this new toy called the Sundays. I can have one sent to you if you'd like me to. And what I like about it is that they are now designing this particular tool to stimulate 3 different types of nerve endings. Something called Merkel's discs, something called Pacinian corpuscles, and another one called Ruffini endings. And the way that they're doing that is they're actually taking this toy and part of it is penetrating vibration, part of it is tapping vibration, and part of it is how you use it on the body. And so tools are getting very sophisticated. And what happens is that when you use a toy, and I'll show you, Diane, I know we're really on audio, but I will show you that sitting next to me, I have my mother's crystal candy bowl full of all these cross-training toys that are at Orgasmic Cross Training. All the toys I recommend from all the different categories. The air stimulators, the lickers, the G-spots, the thrusters, the rabbits, and the wand. The wand doesn't fit in my bowl, but it's right here. And what's important to understand is that each one of these is actually stimulating different parts of the vulvovaginal area. And so what's happening as you're tapping, thrusting, licking, sucking, all these areas, is that your brain is going, oh, I feel that. Oh, do I like that? And this is where you get into the adding in the other components piece of having more orgasmic capacity, where all of a sudden you're laying down these neural pathways and your body is like, oh, yeah, I like that. Oh, that feels good. Oh, that's nice. And pretty soon you're starting to have orgasms from all kinds of different locations that you're stimulating in your genital anatomy. Because though the tip of the clitoris, of course, has the 10,000 nerve endings, it has little arms, it has big legs, it has a clitoral body, it has a urethral sponge, it has a perineal sponge, it has vaginal mucosal lining, it has the cervical area. What was your friend who just did that good episode about the cervical orgasms?
Jamie Thompson.
Jamie Thompson. She was really good. If you didn't listen to that episode of Diane's show, go back and listen to Jamie. I thought that was very nice. She did a really good job. And so what's great about it is that these tools stimulate the signals to the brain. So the brain wakes up and then they start to light up more and more. And then it starts to feel really good. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 you're knocking down all these kinds of orgasms. They're flowing out of you. You have less performance anxiety. You enter into a lovemaking date confident that it's simply a matter of time. Diane, I wanted to tell you about a lovemaking date I had yesterday. Just tell me.
Yeah, tell me a story.
AI?
Please.
So yesterday afternoon, the sunlight was streaming into my bed. I'd gone on a bike ride with my lover, and we had taken a shower, and we laid down on the bed right in the swath of the sunshine. And I said, can you rub some of this THC pain cream on my chest where I got some sunburn because my bikini top was lower than the last one I wore the other day. And sure, sweetheart, I can do that. And then I said, could you rub this mother butter into my thighs, my shins, and my arms? Sure, baby. He did that. And then I said, could you rub this awakened arousal oil on my whole vulva, all the way up to my groin, even including my mons and down kind of almost to my perineum? But don't go inside, just all on the outside. Sure, precious, let me do that for you. How's that? Does it feel good? Yes. And then I said, okay, could you use the breast oil now? And could you rub it on my breasts? And could you play with my boobs and my nipples? And could we make out now? And he said, of course, I'd love to do that. And so, one guy would be like, well, he certainly takes direction well. You're basically just bossing him around. But my boyfriend would never think about that. What are the benefits for him? Well, she always tells me exactly what she needs to surrender to her pleasure. She always has new ideas for fun. I love that every time we make love, her body wants something different, and she's so tuned into it that she knows what it is and she just tells me so I don't have to guess. And I love how relaxing it is to be with her. There's never any rush. She takes her time and allows herself to get turned on at the pace that is whatever her body is telling her that day. And it just calms me down too, because I don't have performance anxiety because she doesn't have performance anxiety. And I always love to give her so many orgasms. I love how responsive she is. And we kept going with that date. But I think that for a lot of women, just hearing a story like that, where it would be okay for them to ask for anything and everything that they want in the moment in an ongoing conversation throughout every lovemaking date, is still a very foreign thing. And I just want women to feel like there is not only nothing wrong with that, that's what makes sex great, because we are different every moment of every day. We run with the moon, and the moon waxes and wanes and changes us from kitty cats to lionesses in any given moment. And so we could start off feeling like really far from our pleasure or super turned on and ready to go. But until we really listen to ourselves and we use these lips to speak for these lips, we can't really get to that full, relaxation and having no performance anxiety. And I think that's one of the biggest tips, is just, what does she want? What does your body want? Listen to her and speak for her in all moments.
I love that. And the other thing I want to point out when you said that I think is so important is that allowing her to become turned on, right? Versus like, okay, we are going right into intercourse in this moment, live it up, go right in. And that thing that winds up happening versus saying like, oh, it's okay if she needs an hour today. She might need 7 minutes tomorrow. Like there's that flexibility. And I also think there's so much to be said about from that safety perspective around like if we can speak and from a standpoint of being self-advocates, it does oftentimes lead to that relaxation of our erogenous zones and that allowing of that orgasm to occur. So I just love all of that. I know we're running out of time today. So my question for you is around this concept of orgasm. What is like one final thing that you think we absolutely need to say today that we would just be completely amiss if we did not?
Yeah. I was thinking that we promised what are the other things you can do to help yourself come to orgasm? And I think that's what we should talk about to close now. The very first thing, so a lot of solo pleasuring with toys. I recommend that. You don't have, it's been, you use an oral irrigator, you use a toothbrush, you use an Instant Pot, you drive a car, use toys. Fill up your pleasure chest with the orgasmic, whatever ones you want out of the orgasmic cross training or whatever looks good for you. It's just nice to see the categories. So you can be like, oh, I'd like to try an air stimulator. Oh, I'd like to try a thruster, whatever it might be. And the second thing is you can double up on toys. You can triple up on toys. You can put a little booty plug in. You can put a thruster or a dildo inside you or a G-spot wand. You can add a wand or a vibrator or an air stimulator on your clitoris. Load them up, girls. Ain't no shame in coming super well, super long, super hard, and lots. That's another thing. The third thing is I have a pleasure protocol that I recommend, and I'll send you some, Diane. I'm sorry, I didn't think to send this to you earlier, but it's 3 products. I'll show it to you. I'll get your address so I can send it to you. There's an awaken arousal oil, and that goes on the outer vulva. That's what my boyfriend put on me. And then there's melts. Those go inside the vagina. And it's cocoa butter, CBD, and botanicals that melts intravaginally. They also have non-CBD versions, by the way. It's all at pleasureprotocol.com. And those really feel very nice for intercourse. And CBD activates the mind-body connection, which is what you're going for. The reason your brain is your biggest sex organ is that it's what processes stimulation into pleasurable sensation. It tells you it feels good. You've got to get the mind going with the vulva. And the CBD uses the endocannabinoid system to do just that. They're hormones signaling hormones. And then the third one is sex oil for as much glide and glide as you want when you make love or any time that you're just wanting a good yoni massage or what have you. And they work together really well. So add those in so you're getting that activation. The Awaken is almost like a pre-lubricant. And then do nipple stimulation while you're using the tools on your genitals, because your mouth and your nipples and breasts are a three-legged stool of your arousal. And your arousal is not just direct stimulation, it's full body stimulation. So and remember, even if you think to yourself, well, my breasts aren't very sensitive, my nipples aren't very sensitive. I didn't have nipple orgasms until I started pleasuring my nipples. Now I can come and come and come just from my nipples being touched ever so slightly. And it's amazing. And it gets your vulva, your internal erectile tissue, the 3 erectile tissue systems of the vulva, which is as big as all the erectile tissue in the penis. It's just in 3 little compartments. It starts to get the blood flow from the inside out rather than just expecting everything to come from the outside in. So it gives you a deep, really nice engorgement. Engorgement is where the blood flows in. It expands the erectile tissue. It creates more surface area, which then when it's stimulated sends more pleasure signals to your brain to register more pleasure. So that woman who's like, it doesn't feel like much. I feel like, that's lack of engorgement. And so stimulating the other areas and then fantasy. Think the dirtiest things you can think of, the taboo things, the things you'd never even tell me, and everybody tells me everything. Think those dirty, dirty thoughts that turn you up, because fantasy is healthy. Fantasy gets the juices running. It really relaxes you and it gets you turned on. And everything that I've said today on this show, and thank you again for having me. I love talking about orgasms. You're going to keep getting better and better and better as you do it. So if your fantasies start off pretty tame, give it a year. Oh, girlie, you're going to be thinking the dirtiest things. And then over time, some of them might actually become realities because you're just maturing sexually. You're entering into your orgasm era right the hell now. And so those are some of the things that can really, really help you.
Fantastic. This has been so wonderful. And you guys have been scribbling notes down like crazy. Remember, you can download this episode, though, and go back and listen to it a million times. And definitely do that, because as I've been saying for this entire year now, whichever guest has the most downloads, the most shares, likes, comments, etc., we're going to invite them back at the end of 2024 to do a very deep dive on all these topics and more. And I certainly want Susan back. I could talk to you all day, Susan. Thanks. Also, just remember that it's the sexy season. And sexy season, we have a ton of giveaways and promotional things. And remember, if you rate our podcast and screenshot it, send it in to us. And we have a lot of raffles and giveaways. Our 21-day libido jumpstart deep dive. We're giving away $1,000 value to one person. So a lot of cool things there. Make sure you register. Susan, we'll have your links for the orgasmic cross training and the pleasure protocol. We'll have all of those links of yours in the show notes. And just thank you again today for coming on. It's a pleasure as always to talk to you.
Yeah. Let me get you a Sundays for your giveaway. Let me get you some Foria pleasure protocols for your giveaway. How about that?
I would love
It'd be my pleasure. Let's give you that. I can also give you a bunch of my programs, my books and programs to give away if you'd like to have those. I'm thinking maybe Sexual Soulmates, Expand Your Orgasm Tonight, Female Liquid Orgasm, my Steamy Sex Ed video collection. Why don't I give you one of each of those to give away as well?
That's amazing, you guys. Sexy season just got sexier and hotter. We have so many giveaways now. So please do rate us. Please do review. We'll get you in this raffle. And now not only do we have a bunch of stuff from me, we have a bunch of stuff from the amazing Susan Bratton to give away as well. So gonna sign off for today, reminding you all to feel sexy, stay classy, and always be a little badassy. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Libido Lounge. Please don't keep me a secret. Please share this with your friends. You can find me on YouTube, on Instagram, as well as how to work with me at mylibidodoc.com.